guys, what if Deku was in Young Justice Part 2? Now, last time, that's my first, what was it? What if my one, not my first, but one of my very first Young Justice What Ifs videos for my first part of the video, I really liked, and I put it together pretty well, because it's the beginning of the story. Not much lore put into it, but for this whole entire thing, um, we will be continuing last time where we left off. I was gonna do a year gap since I didn't want to do the recent episodes like the episode 3 or whatnot, but basically I'm gonna be doing 3 episodes so I can get a reasonable amount of watch time, because other what if we're just giving you 20 to 15 minutes of a what if video that stretches on to like, what was it, 30 parts, and they post them like between months and months of waiting. So I just hate it when what ifers do that. But basically I'm not gonna be the same thing, because I'm never gonna be really off my channel for a month. But basically, let's dive right into the video. Now, before this video started, I started recording this about let's say 5 minutes after I posted on my community on my YouTube, pretty much who should be the love interest for Deku for this what if. Now, basically, guys, a love interest might be a little bit difficult for the story to change for Deku to fall in love with that person, but pretty much somebody commented, Deku should be with Miss Martian. Now, I feel like Deku and Miss Martian could make a good relationship, but Connor and Miss Martian's relationship is a crucial part for Season 4, Season 3, and mainly throughout the whole series. Now, basically, I could do that and have pretty much, Deku taking the place of Lagoon Boy and date Megan instead. I could do that later on, because I am going to at least do all the way up until Season 4 for this what if. I was going to end it off in Season 3, have Deku move to Japan and be a hero there, and blah blah blah, but basically, no, I don't want to really do that. So basically, pretty much just get into it, guys. Enough talking. We start our story off in episode 3. I'm going to be continuing in episode 3, 4, and 5. Now basically, let's get into it. Episode 3, Welcome to Happy Harbor, starts off in Star City, July 17th to 23:16 p.m. And basically, we see that a couple thugs are basically moving some containers of guns or high-tech weaponry, and basically, pretty much they're stopped by Speedy. And if you've seen the beginning of episode 3, you know what happens. But pretty much in these events, when Speedy needs some help, pretty much the rest of the team shows up alongside Deku also showing up there, him shooting a Detroit Smash towards pretty much the villain, knocking him out, and pretty much, stopping him right there, and instead of all the team, or the whole team, going up against him at once. Now basically, after that, Speedy is given a choice to join them, and pretty much Speedy looks at Deku and says, I thought we were friends. I can't believe you're just gonna let them walk all over you, make them into your little guinea pig, your little pet, and basically him walking off. Now pretty much Deku in this canon, I didn't even mention this later, Deku would have actually known Speedy, and they would have been friends since childhood actually. Pretty much him knowing Speedy when he was in school, and them knowing each other's secret identities. Now basically Speedy would have walked off, and basically Deku would have just looked, confused, but also very much disappointed in himself. And this would be the very first time Deku will shine away from the hero path, but not fully. Basically him kind of being like kind of like a Dick Grayson type character, but not fully, shying away from the shadow of All Might, but becoming his own hero later on in the future. Now basically we see when Kid Flash and the rest of the team shows up at the at the base, basically we see that they pretty much are just excited. Now pretty much Deku would be there alongside Megan, Superboy, and pretty much Lagan. Basically them pretty much just running around getting the tour. Now basically the first beginning of the episode would have gone similar to the same. Deku just, nerding out about the Mount Justice, him giving the same explanation about the Mount Justice and why they're here. Basically him saying it in a more smarter way, seeing that the villains already seen this space, but they wouldn't, think the Justice League would hide their sidekicks or give their sidekicks a base they already found. Blah blah blah, stuff like that. So basically just hiding in plain sight. Now basically as they go on a little joyride in Megan's bioship, just like in canon, basically we see that Deku does a couple of tricks. Basically him using a little bit of wind pressure, since Deku's had his metagene for over a year, or for a year and a couple months. Basically him having a lot more control than in canon. Basically, he would have used most of his wind pressure in his fingers, kind of like twirling them around, making a miniature tornado, but it not being stable and just breaking down in like a couple seconds, like 15 seconds. And basically, after that, Mega says it's pretty cool, and basically, pretty much Deku says, yeah, but my power is more, I guess, effective in the field. And basically, what happened is pretty much Deku, and I think I said this earlier, that Deku does have Black Whip. So basically doing this, pretty much Deku would have used a little bit of Black Whip, since he wouldn't be able to control it fully. He just used a little bit of it, basically making a little rope he plays with, pretty much kind of like you play with string when you're bored. Because like people be bored, and you go to school, you be playing with the weirdest things. But basically what happened is pretty much, well, after that, before they go to Megan's bioship, the whole tire, what was it? Megan doing the whole sidekick talking thing, it still turns out the same. Deku being a little bit, peed off, but him still being the same. Pretty much, well, charming Deku. Pretty much, he just says it's okay, Megan. Basically, him playing it off a little bit cooler and kind of flirting with Megan. And Megan picking this up and kind of, well, flirting back a little bit, just a little bit, not much to Deku to understand or to pretty much, well, catch up on, but enough. Now, basically, what happened after that? They'll go on the joyride. Then we switch back to pretty much, well, present time. When they go on the joyride and they eventually get told about a distress call from Red Tornado. Basically, what happened after that? They would go there. They would get hit by a tornado. They would eventually get out of the pretty much bioship, going up against Twister. So basically, as they would go against Twister, very quickly they would all get folded. I'm just being it simple. They all get dropped down. Like it's no competition. Robin doesn't stand a chance. Superboy gets his cheek slapped, like for real. Like everybody is getting dropped left and right. Except for Deku. Since Deku would have been a lot more stronger in canon, since he would be the, I think, 9th or 10th user of All For One. But he would be pretty much, since All Might would be the original user of All For One that Deku would be in canon. Deku would be the higher number of that. I have to look that up real quick. But basically what would happen is Deku would have stand a chance against Twister being stronger than him. Basically going against the wind pressure or the tornadoes, using a Detroit Smash to overpower his tornado manipulation, pushing him through the building. As he would go one-on-one, beating the absolute dog doo-doo out of Twister, Twister would have retreated and would have started to make a cyclone storm, hitting Deku with a direct bolt of thunder or lightning, knocking Deku straight out. Deku would have had an outfit like this, because I didn't really mention Deku's outfit since he would have street clothes of the rest of the team. Pretty much he would be wearing something like this, but a little bit more put together, and also him not having a hat on and his shirt being completely buttoned up. Or his shirt not being halfway buttoned up. The top 3 buttons would have been unbuttoned, so he basically would just have it. And we have the collar like this popped out. So basically what would happen is Deku would get knocked out, he would be on the ground, and basically the rest of the team would have gone charging towards pretty much, well, Twister. They would eventually still lose, like in canon, Megan using the bioship to shield them and make them look like they disappeared. Basically after that, they would have been still slightly mad at Megan. But basically what happened after that, they would have ran off. Since the fight would have ended off a little bit less, I'm pretty sure Megan would have not anchored Connor and basically stuff like that. So basically what happened is, since this fight would have ended a little bit quicker, since they wouldn't think it was Twister and Megan would have not brought that idea up, none of the team would have been mad at her. And basically, since Deku would have get hit with a lightning bolt, getting knocked out and almost getting killed, since without his quirk, his enhanced durability, he would have just straight up turned into, well, grilled food. Like, he would have just barbecued right there. Basically, them knowing it's not Twister and them not mistaking it for a Red Tornado in this canon. Now, basically, what happened is Twister would have made more havoc through his Happy Harper, using his tornado abilities to pretty much push around boats and cars and stuff like that. Him using his powers to make 3 tornadoes at once, causing a lot of havoc to try to get Red Tornado's attention. As this would happen, pretty much Wally and the rest of the team, Superboy, Wally, Robin, and Deku would have shown up. And basically, Aqualad carrying Deku, since Deku had still been unconscious. He would have laid Deku down in a nearby building on the bench, because it would be a waiting room, like a vet place. Basically, what happened is Megan would try to go back to the base and basically, talk to Red Tornado. But as she would have the idea, she would have had the same idea like in canon. As this would happen, we would get switched back to the rest of the team fighting Twister, and the Twister fight would have gone somewhat the same, since Deku would be knocked out. Near the end of the fight, when pretty much Red Tornado shows up, or quote-unquote Red Tornado shows up, eventually Red Tornado is shown to be Megan in disguise. As this happens, pretty much, well, the fight starts to go lopsided, Twister losing. As it would happen, pretty much they would have gone up against Twister, and Twister would have fell down to the ground, into the ocean. Arcolag would have hit him with an electric voltage in the water, him being destroyed left and right by the rest of the team, as Twister would be destroyed left and right, again and again. After the Twister situation would be handled, basically what would happen is Deku would have woken up in a room in pretty much the Mount Justice area. Basically, this happening, and pretty much him waking up, as Megan would be right next to him saying, "Are you okay?" Deku would have said yeah, and basically after that, pretty much the team would have had the same confrontation or same conversation with Red Tornado, and basically Megan would have had, well, a kind of a flirting type moment with Connor and Deku. But after that, we could switch to episode 4, Drop Zone. Now let's continue it. So we continue our story at pretty much Santa Prisca, basically where we see pretty much, well, the Cobra corner Bane and a couple of his goons, or pretty much, well, I guess, compadres. And basically what happened, pretty much the beginning of the episode of episode 4, Drop Zone, would have played out same. Basically the events of this episode playing out the same. Pretty much, well, Bane going up against a fight with pretty much, I don't remember his name, the Venom guy. Basically, them going up against, well, pretty much that guy. And basically what happened, or the skinny guy, that's the brother of, I think, the other skinny redhead girl that eventually becomes a metahuman. Basically what happened is pretty much, well, the beginning of the episode would have gone the same. Like I said, original. I'm going to be skipping over this part. But after that, we get switched to pretty much the team being, well, briefed into a mission. Basically, Robin having a flashback of his own, us seeing the mission, and pretty much them seeing that Batman would tell them that the mission was a recon mission. To figure out what they were smuggling, and to report back here without making any noise, and without, well, showing any attention to themselves. Now, basically what happened is Robin would have basically gotten ready, and Deku's hero costume would have changed a little bit. Would have a version 2 of his hero costume. I'm pretty sure this is the second version of Deku's hero costume, and this is what Deku would be wearing with the glove look. Basically, since Deku would have a lot more control over himself, and pretty much his body would be more adjusted to the metahuman gene. Basically, him not having the, he would still have the same similar limits of, if he uses too much power, his muscles will rip or blow up or tear, and his limbs could possibly die out, meaning that the muscles on his limbs would just shut down, not blow up, but they would shut down, and he would basically be paralyzed for the limbs. And basically that would be the whole entire downfall of pretty much, or the equivalent of him overusing his powers. And basically what happened is pretty much, well, Robin would have complimented Deku on his new suit, saying it's a better look and it looks a lot more, I guess, what was it, fancier? Basically, Deku saying thanks. Basically, what happened is after this, we will see it pretty much, well, drop zone 8 and 30. Basically, pretty much, well, not us seeing, but us seeing the first, look at the stealth suit, basically, or the stealth suit tech. Basically, us seeing Aqualad go into the mission to pretty much just take down the sensors at the front of the island and basically pretty much, well, pretty much let the team get by pretty quickly. As it would happen, we see it pretty much the rest of the team would have activated their stealth version of their suit. Pretty much Megan using the stealth version of his suit, and also pretty much, well, was it Kid Flash doing the same thing. Now, as he would say, pretty much you're gonna try the new tech Deku, and basically, pretty much him saying, yeah, maybe. And basically, what would happen is he would basically pretty much, well, this canon, he would basically make the same pretty much kind of like smirky, I guess, joke saying that new stealth look looks nice on you, basically on Megan, and Megan would have taken this as a compliment. And basically, her also, kind of flirting back towards Connor as well at the same time, and basically, the relationship's gonna be kind of weird, but Connor will eventually get Megan near the end of the series, but at the beginning of season 2, I think Lagan will be replaced with Deku. Yeah, I've said this before. And basically, what happened is pretty much Deku would have jumped out, basically him doing a stealth jump using All For One pretty much in his, what was it, All For One basically in his legs. Basically what would happen is as they would pretty much run off into the jungle, basically getting closer and closer to the mission, as they would go a little bit more stealth, Deku would have been in a darker green, so he basically would have said that he doesn't really need a stealth suit, change. But if you guys want to imagine him in one, just imagine all the green in his suit being a dark gray, and all the white in his suit being a lot more of a dirtier white. But basically what happened is pretty much the rest of the team would have basically, well, split up. Not the rest of the team would split up, but pretty much Robin would have split up, or he would have gone to the jungle, basically doing a whole entire Batman thing. Basically him not really knowing that, people need to know what you're thinking, or know what you're, want to do before you do it. Stuff like that. But basically, Robin would be in the jungle, and Deku would have not been a very stealth hero, but he would read about a lot of stealth, and he would be a lot more of a studier type hero, so he would know a lot about stealth missions and how to, to stay quiet and stuff like that. So basically, as Kid Flash would run off, they'd try to figure out what happened. Deku would follow him and would have catched him before he slipped in the mud. But they would both slip in the mud, and they would both get in the crossfire. Basically, them both getting shot at. Deku would have used his powers to pretty much speed blitz his body across pretty much the shooting field, or pretty much the shootout. Basically, him kind of making him his own form of super speed, kind of like how Deku has in canon. And basically, as he would be running around, basically, or blitzing around with his super speed, or his, increased agility, speed, and strength with his powers. Basically, as would happen, pretty much Robin would have catched in towards the jungle, basically him saying that, why did you guys not follow my lead? Basically, while he's saying, we can't read minds, Megan can, but still, we can't read minds, and pretty much, know what you're thinking, Robin. You have to tell us what your plan is going to be. After the rest of the team takes out all the villains, or all the members of the Cobra, pretty much they tie him up, and they eventually do interrogate Bane. Bane is, compelled, and basically Deku did have a little bit of training from other heroes, since pretty much some heroes from the My Hero Academia universe would have existed in this universe, basically in Japan, because Deku would spend some time in Japan as All Might's successor, or pretty much sidekick, because he would be around a lot, since he would be All Might's sidekick, and you would have a lot of, experience, with other heroes, and he would be a very quick learner. So basically, what happened is Deku would have pretty much started to interrogate Bane using methods of pretty much, stabbing him, cutting him, smacking him around, and just using efforts of pain, and also some sort of kind of like a Punisher type, and kind of like a Punisher type of, torture, trying to take away the schedule of light and day, and make Bane seem like, doesn't even know what day it is, or, pretty much just trying to psychologically mess up Bane. Then basically what would happen is pretty much, Deku would have not had the time, so basically he would just, pretty much just start to punch Bane harder and harder. Bane eventually giving up or spilling the beans, since he would eventually cough up a lot of blood. Him knowing that he's gonna die. Deku keeps on pulling this up, and he hasn't seen a lot of Deku in the news, so he doesn't know if he's one of those killing superheroes. So basically, he just spills the beans, and pretty much just for plot reasons. Basically, he spills the beans, and pretty much they are pretty much guided to the entrance to the base. Basically, what happened is pretty much Deku would have seen that Bane would probably be a problem, but he wouldn't really rush to things quickly and try to knock out Bane in this original canon. Pretty much what would happen is Deku would have gone with the rest of the team, pretty much Kid Flash and Robin running off to find the computers and stuff like that. As it would have happened, we see that they were trafficking Venom and stuff like that. Basically, the episode going somewhere the same until the fight broke out with Sportsmaster and everybody else on the Cobra leader. Basically, what would happen is they would start the fight, and pretty much the big dude at the beginning of the episode with the venom in his veins, he would have started to fight against Deku. Deku would use his Detroit Smash, punching him through the window in the building, basically pushing him away. As it would happen, was that he would all start to pretty much fight against all these guys, him using his Speed Blitz ability to dodge most of the laser blasts, and pretty much, what was it? Pretty much just dodge everything. Basically, he would eventually get to a lot of the Cobra people there, a lot of the Cobra goons or agents, basically taking them out pretty quickly. Basically, he would eventually look out the window, him seeing Robin fight against the other girl, but Robin would have been told to get out there quickly and to make a retreat. As they would make a retreat, pretty much Aqualad running off and, telling them to get out there as quick as possible. As they would all start to get out there, pretty much, Connor would have, fought against the Venom guy alongside Deku, and they would both sprint into the door. Deku using his powers to pretty much kick the pillar or they kick the wood alongside Connor. And basically, as they would punch punch the pillars together, the floor would have fell down on the ground, and basically what happened is pretty much, after that, we would see that the rest of the team would have had the same argument as original, and Deku pretty much would have said, I'm not going to be a team leader, and pretty much Robin said, I look at your file, you're a pretty smart kid, and also, you don't have as much experience as me, but still, you have a lot of experience for somebody that's just been a psychic for a year. And basically, Deku saying, thanks, but I'm not really cut out to be, a leader. Not just yet, at least. Basically, Robin would have said, okay. And basically, they would eventually get onto the topic of Aqualad being the leader of the team, and Aqualad would have been voted the leader. As they would get away or get out of the tunnels, and they would come across Bane. As Bane would try to threaten them, Deku wouldn't be having it and would do his flick movement or his flick attack, basically him shooting a smash towards Bane, knocking him out cold, and pretty much making Bane drop the detonator and him fall down to the ground. As they would run out the tunnel before the detonators went off, the tunnel would have blown down and broken down. Basically, them already being out of it. As it had happened, we said Connor would have knocked out Bane after Bane would be dropped by pretty much Megan with her telekinesis. And basically what happened is, they would go on to pretty much do a smash and grab type thing, stopping pretty much them from smuggling the venom and pretty much stopping Sportsmaster and the rest of them by escaping. As they would do this, basically we start to see Connor would start to fight against pretty much the Venom guy. As he would go up against him, or he would try to, Aqualad would have came, in clutch, basically fight against the Venom guy with water manipulation. As Connor would be attacked by Sportsmaster, getting hit with laser blast, pretty much as he would be hit by this, basically he would start to get a little angered, and he would use the All-for-One gene, or the Meta gene in his veins, or artificial Meta gene in his body. Basically him using this and pretty much supercharging the Kryptonian genes that give him invulnerability. Him taking the pretty much laser blast like there were nothing, and him knocking out Sportsmaster, or seemingly that being it. Sportsmaster playing dead at least. And basically, after what happened, we said Robin would try to fight against the Cobra leader, but him easily getting smacked. Basically, as we would see, the Deku would have gone against pretty much a couple, pretty much was it Cobra goons, and basically eventually he would have helped Aqualad against pretty much the Venom guy. Basically, him using a Detroit Smash to pretty much knock out the Venom guy instead of pretty much instead of pretty much Aqualad using his electricity manipulation to basically, or his Bioshock, I think, to basically knock out the Venom guy. After this would happen, we would see that Megan would have gotten up after Sportsmaster would have, woken out of his whole entire playing dead thing and would have knocked out both of them, since Kana would have released his quirk, or pretty much, I guess, his metagene that was giving him, or supercharging his Kryptonian genes. Basically, pretty much Sportsmaster still escaping the blown up helicopter, and the helicopter would have still blown up the base where all the Venom was. Pretty much the episode going somewhat the same. The Core Master about to kill Robin, and eventually the rest of the team would have shown up. Deku doing a Detroit Smash towards the Cobra leader. The Cobra leader using or deflecting it back towards Deku's body. Deku would have been pushed back, him being lucky he didn't put all his strength in the punch. And basically, as they would go after the Cobra Master, he would have disappeared into the jungle. As it would happen, we would see that Rawa and the rest of the team would have been pretty disappointed that, the mission went kind of trash and the whole building got blown up. And that basically what would happen is pretty much Deku decided, not the whole building, or not all of it. Basically, Deku taking out a canister or a briefcase from a nearby bush, showing Venom pretty much samples. Basically saying, we got at least something out of it. Now, basically, as this would happen, pretty much Batman would have said good job, and he would have actually been pretty impressed that Deku would have been resourceful and would have grabbed a little sample to figure out what they were making and to have it in hand. Now, basically, what would happen after this episode, it would go pretty much the same. The end of the episode being that, as the Light would talk to talk to Sportsmaster. Sportsmaster would have had 2 samples instead of 1. But basically them saying, okay. And basically him saying that, pretty much we can, we can, sorry guys, pretty much he was saying that we can, turn it back and, analyze the 1 sample and make more of it. But basically them being ended off there. As we continue on episode 5, pretty much episode 5 is mainly about Superboy, and since it's mainly about Superboy, and Superboy is changed because he would have artificial he would have artificial metahuman power that would recharge or supercharge his Kryptonian cells, and that would basically be most of the things his artificial pretty much metahuman gene could do. And basically what happened is pretty much a school bus would have been hit off the bridge in Metropolis. Basically it happened the same way. Now Wayne Manor would have seen, pretty much Batman would have seen this from Wayne Tech, basically him about to get dressed in pretty much the Batman suit, but eventually Superman would have showed up. As Superman would have shown up, we see that Connor would have also shown up as well. Connor would have jumped down there, and basically he would have grabbed the bus, supercharging his cells, of his Kryptonian cells with the artificial metahuman gene, basically him pushing or pretty much pulling the bus back, basically him, getting the bus safely on the side of the road instead of it almost falling over. And basically what happened is pretty much Superman would have been some kind of impressed, but basically he would have looked at Connor and still been kind of, distraught. Him not really knowing what to do with Connor. And basically what happened after this, pretty much he would have flown off and Connor would have still felt kind of detached by Superman. As it would happen, we would see that Connor would have been kind of paid off by this, but basically after this, we get switched by the rest of the team, basically getting, pretty much accompanied, or pretty much them being a little bit, better with the mission, and then about to get mission ready. As it would happen, Deku would have been in his hero costume, and pretty much what would happen is, as they would do training, we said the training would have happened similar to the same. Connor getting his butt handed to him by Black Canary and stuff like that. The beginning of the episode going similar to the same altogether. And basically, what would happen is before Connor would fight, Deku would actually would have actually fought after Wally. As he would go for Black Canary, he would start the fight against her, but eventually the fight would have lasted about 15 minutes. Actually, them having a pretty, outstanding fight. Deku using some of his power to supercharge parts of his body and stuff like that. Now, basically, if you don't know how it works, basically, to be honest, Deku had the clear strength advantage and pretty much speed advantage, but not the skill or the tactic or the tactical moves, or just not the skill. Not the skill at all. Skill is mainly everything in fighting in the DC universe, because Batman never really has the strength to overpower or purely overpower and strength most of his villains. So mainly skill and pretty much smarts really wins the fight most of the time. And he also gadgets always win. But basically what would happen is Deku would still get knocked on his back just like everybody else, and Kana would eventually get into the fight, and he would have lost as well. But basically, since he wouldn't use his pretty much inhuman gene, or I mean not inhuman, he would have not used his metahuman gene to pretty much supercharge his cells and to give him more Kryptonian abilities or more Kryptonian strength. And since Connor would have this, he could supercharge his cells to be as strong as a full-blooded Kryptonian. But if he pushed his body to the limits, he could supercharge his Kryptonian cells to become stronger than Superman could ever be. But that would take off years of Connor's lifespan and also give him incredible mind grades for at least weeks straight, and have his muscles feel like they ran a marathon, or make his body feel like it went through hell and back. That'd be simple. It would take off like about 2 years of his lifespan, and since he is half Kryptonian, he lives about twice as long as humans plus Kryptonians. He lives as long as a Kryptonian basically, but about like I guess 5 years off. Basically, what happened is pretty much Batman would have gave the mission with pretty much Amazo and the pretty much escort the parts of Amazo and stuff like that. After that happened, basically we see the rest of the team would have gotten ready. Basically, as this would happen, we see that pretty much the team would have gone after the trucks, pretty much escorting them. And as it would happen, we see that robot monkeys would have started to attack the trucks, both of them. Now, Deku would have been with Connor and Robin instead of pretty much Wally, Megan, and Aqualad. 3-on-3. Then basically what happened is they would start to fight against the robot monkeys, and pretty much as this would happen, we see that they would start to go up against them. Connor being filled with rage, and basically as he would get lasered in the face and pushed or pretty much fell off the truck, he would have been peed off. Basically him supercharging his Kryptonian cells, pretty much him speed blitzing towards the truck and flying. Then basically as he would fly towards the truck, and basically he would use his Kryptonian cells to supercharge most of all of his Kryptonian attributes. Pretty much him doing laser vision, also flying, and also using his enhanced super strength to pretty much sonic clap most of the monkeys off of the truck. Basically them actually winning against the fight of the robot monkeys and taking them out pretty quickly. As it would happen, we see that pretty much Connor would have be filled with way more rage, anger, and him shooting off laser beams everywhere. Deku having to dodge most of them, and him pretty much having to get out the way, and him almost getting ran over by the truck when it, topples over. Now, as the monkeys will eventually still get away, pretty much it only being 4 monkeys left, 2 monkeys grabbing the container and 1 flying alongside them, as they would run off. As this would happen, sorry guys, I had to get off the video a little bit, but basically what happened is, after that, Connor would have been filled with rage and would have started to super jump after the monkeys. him not wanting to use his third boost of Kryptonian cells the day because he already used them twice. Basically, what would happen is doing this pretty much, well, the Mazo parts would have been stolen and Connor would have gone after them. Deku also following Connor, using his, enhanced strength to pretty much jump or super jump after Connor. As Connor would catch up with the Mazo and go against pretty much the maker of a Mazo, he would have started to, pretty much argue against him and eventually try to fight him. When a Mazo stepped in and started to literally straight up just fold, drop. Like, this would be a way more brutal fight. Pretty much Connor would have been dropped down. Dropped. Now, Connor would have still had a little bit more juice in the tank of pretty much him supercharging his cells or supercharging his Kryptonian cells, kind of like how he did before. He would still have a little bit of that spark left, so he would use the last of it to pretty much use a full Kryptonian punch towards Amazo's chest before he was punched off the train. As it would happen, Amazo would have looked at him pretty much Amazo being pushed back 6 feet, and Amazo grabbing Connor by the leg and chucking him into pretty much Robin's skull, like in canon. As it would happen, Connor would have seen this and would have followed after. Deku would have seen this and would have followed after Connor. As Connor would be having his butt handed to him, Connor would have not wanted to use his last boost of Kryptonian cells with his pretty much artificial metahuman power just yet. Him wanting to stick with his base powers he already has as Superboy. And basically, as it would happen, we see that pretty much Amazo would have started to fight against Connor. As Connor was about to get smacked, we see the rest of the team would have shown up. Pretty much Deku double tagging against Amazo with the help of Connor, Kid Flash, and Robin. As they would all go all out towards Amazo. As they would fight Amazo at full speed, taking him down, trying to take him out all at once, Deku would use a Detroit Smash and a couple kicks towards pretty much Amazo all at once. Amazo would have started to dodge most of the attacks and eventually him mimicking Deku's powers and pretty much kicking Deku back. As Deku would see a plus ultra attack happening. After it happened, he would see that it was an All Might move. Since All Might would have fought Amazo alongside the Justice League, since he would be a Justice Leaguer. As it happened, he would do a plus ultra, and Deku would have used most of all of his strength in that moment to use a just as devastating punch, since he would be stronger than All Might, since he would be the 9th user of All for One, basically, or One for All. Basically, he would have used his quirk to pretty much counteract the plus ultra smash. The plus ultra punch, and counteract it, making a huge shockwave, pushing all of them out of the gym, and the gym area of the school being completely destroyed. Basically, a huge crater being left behind, and the gym area of the school being blown up. Basically, as pretty much, since Bruce Wayne would send his son or his adopted son to the school, he would pay for most of the damages at Gotham University. But basically, what happened is pretty much, Connor basically would have gotten up from the ashes, basically him shielding Wally and Robin from the whole entire big attack. As it happened, we said Deku would have had his sleeve ripped off, him being beaten up and bloody. Sorry, the best picture I can find Deku. I could find Deku in a hero costume that was beaten up. But basically, what happened is Deku would have gotten up from the smoke and ashes and the broken down wood and the bleachers. Basically, him looking towards Amazo, and Amazo would have been slightly damaged. Him having some dents and bruises in his body, and basically him running towards pretty much Deku. As Deku would go against him using most of kicking techniques towards pretty much Amazo, him kicking Amazo left and right. Eventually, Amazo using pretty much Superman's strength to pretty much punch around Deku, since Deku would be, very much injured, since he would use a punch counteracting the plus ultra punch The plus ultra punch, counteracting that and completely dominating that punch, pushing Amazo back. By the way, I forgot to mention that. Basically, him using a humongous amount of power in his arms. This destroying most of the bones in his arms, or in his arm, his left arm, since he would punch with his left arm on instinct. Basically, what happened is his arm, his muscles would have been, if he went a little bit up on the strength boost, his muscle will be completely ripped apart if he went stronger, and his bones are cracked on pretty much the top, and his forearm bones and a couple of his finger bones are fractured and broken or snapped in two. Basically, his arm looking as abused as it was in the, I guess, the sports tournament in canon. Basically, as he would get up after Mesa would be beating the absolute like doo water out of him, pretty much he would start to get up, but he would get punched down again and again and again. Him having way more resilience and willpower, him trying to get back up, but eventually he would get kicked down to the ground. He would try to get back up one more time, him not wanting to give up, but eventually, pretty much, since luckily All Might would be in the facility just patrolling Gotham City, and basically he would jump in, pretty much stopping Amazo and counteracting Amazo right from the back. Basically, Amazo trying to use his, pretty much, what was it? Martian shapeshifting abilities to phase through a punch, pretty much, Robin was giving. And basically, as Robin would see this, he would dodge to the way, as All Might would punch towards or punch through Amazo becoming solid again and having his whole chest blown away or blown out because, well, he would have, become solid while All Might was still pretty much, well, his fist was in his chest. So basically what would happen is Amazo would have been blown up from the chest area and pretty much him being disassembled as quickly as possible. As pretty much what was it? Pretty much as the police would, try to clear off this area, the construction of the gym of Gotham High would have basically, or Gotham Academy would have basically be put into, well, process as quickly as possible by, by pretty much Batman, and the rest of the episode would go in some of the same. As pretty much they would still Robin in this canon, since Robin would not find the arrow and the arrow wouldn't have saved Wally. Basically, pretty much, since this would have turned out different and Artemis would have not been there, because if she was, she would have been killed because that blast Deku went up against Amazo was like phenomenal. Now Deku would have been sent to the hospital, or pretty much a hospital for heroes, I guess, and basically him being treated with the absolute care, him also being pretty much well escorted by All Might. And for some reason, All Might would have been very much hurt to see Deku hurt like this. He would know that he would be in a lot of trouble since he would be a hero, but he didn't know he would, overuse his power or his metahuman gene like this. But basically, what happened is the rest of the team would have been congratulated on how they handled it and how pretty much how they handled it, and they quickly helped Deku with his whole entire, what was it, medical attention going up against him, and also trying to keep him safe. Basically what happened is pretty much Deku would be in the hospital for the next couple of episodes, but it would still be changed since the butterfly effect kind of would still have the whole entire artificial supercharging gene that's in his body that's giving him an extra boost in Kryptonian genes. Now that might change the events of the last couple episodes of season 1, where we see Connor get the whole entire strength boosting packs from his other biological father, aka Lex Luthor, basically. And as that would happen, it would change a little bit. Most of the stories with Superboy just being in it would change a lot, since I would have a lot more to narrate about. So basically what happened, I'm gonna leave it off here, guys. Episode 6 and 7 and 8, I will not be skipping those because Connor is in most of those episodes. Episode 8, go somewhere the same. So I might be skipping episode 8. And so episode 6, 7, 9, and maybe 11 are going to be in part 3. But most likely episodes 6, 7, and 9 are going to be in part 3. I hope you guys enjoy the video. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Like, subscribe, and as always, guys, have a blessed day. And before I peace out, guys, go in the comments and give me just a suggestion for a solid ship for Deku. I may eventually. I'm thinking about this. I am writing a paper to follow later on in my part 4, 5, that basically make Deku replace Lagoon Boy as Megan's second boyfriend or rebound guy. But basically, pretty much, well, yeah, guys. So go in the comments, tell me who should be the solid ship for Deku, not just a side character, just not just a side girl Deku would hook up with later on, but basically a solid ship Deku could marry that girl in this canon or something like that. And basically, give me a solid ship, and guys. For season 2, I will be introducing for season 2 of this What If, I will be introducing another character from the My Hero universe that's in pretty much the My Hero Academy. It could be Bakugo, it could be I forgot, Red Riot, or what's his name? I forgot his name, for real. I have to get better with names, but basically like Ochaku or something like that. But basically, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys like and subscribe. As always, guys, have a blessed day.